So up until this point in time, I had a 12 volt solar panel, had 12 volt battery, had 12 volt lights, had 12 volt water pump, and a 12 volt macerator, and we were doing pretty good. I mean, did have to have a generator for power tools, which was kind of inconvenient. But what's coming is summer, and it is not something you want to do, is to try to sleep in a cabin in the summer with no air conditioning. I grew up without air conditioning. We did have a big attic fan, but I don't think I can go back to those times. So we bit the bullet and paid Magnolia Co-op, I think it's called, the local electrical company, to bring us service. Now, to get service, they have to run some poles on our property, and they want 15 foot of clearance on each side of the pole with no trees. No trees at all. So this was a tough pill to swallow. We like our trees. We like our little privacy. We liked our little curvy road that looked like it was going to a tunnel. But, we need electricity. So we signed on the dotted line, wrote the check. They, in turn, hired a subcontractor to clear the right-of-way. And as per our agreement, they weren't going to haul the trees off or mulch them. They just cut them, laid them on the ground, and that's what they typically do, and let them rot. So in this case, it was up to us to remove the trees and the stumps, the thousands of stumps. It changes the look pretty substantially. Our little private gate is not so private anymore, but first world problems. So this video is about how we got the land back into decent shape.
Well, it's gonna be a whole lot of work to clean up, but it's not terrible. Got a pretty big swath through here.
In order for us to get power, we had to let them cut trees. This will be where one of the poles will be, and they have to have 15 feet on both sides. And they tried to set the poles where most of the 15 feet would be over the road, and they did an okay job. So then they come through here, and actually it's a subcontractor. They cut all the trees and lay them on the ground. They don't move them, they don't pick them up, and they don't dig the stumps. So I dug the stumps yesterday and today. The little hoe can deal with these. They're not huge. Some of them take a little work. Most of them come right out of the ground. They're too heavy to pick up, and I was trying to scoop them up with the bucket of Colin's tractor, and that wasn't working. I could get like one of them at a time. And then he's got that little grapple thing that I repaired a while back, and I was having a hard time grabbing them. I was getting like one, and the thing would be mostly empty. But when I tried to get another one, they would just fall. Anyway, figured out a system. I take the track hoe and spread them out in the middle of the road like this. And then with the grapple, I come in here and put the bottom part on the gravel and just shove it up here like a bulldozer against the blade of the mini hoe, and then close it and lift it at the same time and get pretty good bit in one time. I'm going to try to get all these in one scoop, and then I'll back up. I'll throw the stumps in the middle of the road with the track hoe and do some more. When I first started, I did the little piece by my cabin, and I was hauling everything back off the trail to a little burn pile I made. That I realized that was crazy. There was just too much stuff, and then we started just hauling it onto Colin's empty lot and making a big pile there, and that was better. It's still a little bit of a drive, and the more you drive with all this stuff in the bucket, the more it falls out. But then toward the end, we ended up just burning it pretty much in place, not exactly under the power lines, but pretty close, kind of scary at times. But that was really the most practical means, is just making little piles on the side of the road and lighting them up.
Still nothing to brag about. I'm gonna drop that on the ground and try to grab it again.
You can tell by my clothing attire that we started this quite a while ago, and I finished it yesterday actually. So this little grapple is designed for safety in mind for a small tractor, meaning it won't pick anything up. If you put it on the ground, the horizontal part of the tines are only like 6 inches long, so it makes it real challenging to get a load into the thing. Basically what I was doing was picking up what I could, parking the tractor, and then picking up every little piece that I could find and shoving into the sides. It's just, they didn't want to overload the little tractor, so they made it so you can't pick up much.
That's a load. That's about as good as it gets. I missed one, but I'll catch it on the next time.
One of the things the clearing company did was after they laid all the trees down, they had a big, like a farm tractor, a big one, like 70 horse, and it came down the road, and I didn't see it. I probably would have stopped him, and he shoved all the cut debris up against the existing trees. I guess he thought he was doing us a favor. Maybe most people don't ever pick this stuff up, they just let it rot. But it made it much harder to pick up the debris and cut it because it's all tangled up. Now this little stretch here is all pine trees. It separates pretty easy. It didn't have the privet and the vines. The areas that are full of privet, Chinese privet, will test you. The privet will make you bleed. The vines will make you bleed, and it just you just struggle for every little branch. But it's done now, so it's okay. These earthwork, drainage, site work, ditch digging videos, they're kind of repetitive, and I apologize for that, but it's because it's kind of repetitive. It's a big chunk of land, and we got two little small tractors, and you tend to do the same thing over and over and over again. And for the most part, I find it kind of relaxing, but it's tough to make a decent, exciting video out of this footage. I'm doing the best I can.
That's the only way to load this thing. Not bad. Pretty good load.
So this is kind of representational of what we have to deal with. These little spindly plants are called Chinese privet. Of course, it was brought in from China. People thought it would make a nice hedge, and it is a pain in the rear. They don't get big. They're really not competing with the pines like the Chinese tallow trees, which is another invasive species. But they're very prickly. They will scratch you up, and they're real tenacious. You can see here that even though the big loader shoved the pine trees over on top, and I've cleaned most of them off the top of the privet, they're still firmly anchored to the ground. They'll trip you. They're mean. So it's cleaning up this mess is it's time consuming. And I got my steel chainsaw out to shop. It's running perfectly, but I tend to grab this little trash pile sear saw because it's like half of the weight and it's running really good. It has a little thin bar and a thin chain, so it cuts really fast. Now the chain seems to stretch really fast. You have to retension it a lot to keep it on the bar, but I'm willing to put up with that because I like it. The lightness in it. It's quick. It's easy. And here you can see pulling out a pine trunk that I'm going to throw to a different pile, not the burn pile, because I'm going to use these in the future to keep my track from sinking when I put my track in places that it probably shouldn't be. So I'm pulling out the larger of the pine trunks. None of them are really big. They're all 10 years old roughly, but they're growing fast and they'll only get bigger. Privet is like blackberry vines. It typically grows on the edge of the forest. It likes sunlight and it grows really quick, so whenever there's like a fence line or like on the edge of the highway where they clear, it usually is the first plant to grow that, and then Chinese tallow trees. Usually short and bushy. These are really tall and spindly because they were up in the middle of the pine trees, so I've never seen privet grow like this, but it seemed to be pretty happy doing its thing right here. So in order to speed things along a little bit, I'm running the tractor and the tracker at the same time here and get twice as much work done. So yeah, just kidding. That's Colin on the tractor. That's my diesel can, but that's Colin on the tractor. And after we remove all the surface debris, I go through and turn over every square inch of soil because it's full of not only the pine stumps, which sometimes you can see, but sometimes you can't see because they cut them pretty low, but also all the little bitty stumps, the privet stumps, the sweet gum stumps, the blackberry vines, just everything's in there. So I turn all the dirt over, turn it upside down, and then pull out what I can before I grade it flat. I was pleasantly surprised at how high off the ground they put the power lines. I was thinking, since it was just going to Colin's future camp and my camp, that I don't know, they'd use substandard poles. I don't really know, but underneath that line, I can put the track hoe and lift the boom straight up as high as I can get it, and I'm nowhere near the power line. So it's kind of nice. I don't have to think about that constantly. So go through, turn everything over, throw the stumps to the side. When I do dig up a pine stump, I pick it up in the air and drop it once or twice to shake all the dirt off of it, so it burns better and creates less. It's just better to get them clean of dirt.
Burning trash, unending supply under the power lines, but the flame's not very high. Hopefully this stuff will burn. Hope that'll be all right. But this is a Chinese privet, and this is what you do. Well, that was pretty easy, but they're all tangled up, and it's hot, summertime. So this has been slow go. I get a little bit every time I come, and once all this stuff is cleared, then I come with a track hoe and dig up the stumps, because like there's a stump, There's a stump. There's a stump. They're everywhere. There's dozens of them. There's a stump. I want it not so much as a lawn, but I want to be able to cut it without ruining my lawnmower. So then I dig it up, turn it all over, and that's what I did up here where you just see dirt. It's all turned over. I don't think there's any more roots. I'll try to blade it out halfway. It's kind of wet today. It rained hard yesterday. Blade it out, and we'll plant grass or plant something that the deers like to eat. And I made 2 more stacks to burn. I'm going to light them right now. It's kind of wet, but I think they'll burn. So this makes the 8th stack in just this little piece from here to the highway. Slow go, but I'm not as young as I used to be, so I got to take it easy. Uncovered a couple of deer trails through here. Look like interstate highway. There've been so many. Look at that. Couldn't have done it cleaner with my string trimmer and my edger. Got a very warm fire going. It won't last very long because it's mostly pine needles. It will turn into a fire like that one and burn the rest of the day. Big flames are going to go out. I'm going to sit here until it calms down a little bit. I'm going to go do something else. So it just came down this side with the track hoe. I'm on the track hoe and turned the dirt over and got all the stumps out, or a lot of the little ones. I've come down here before, got a lot of big ones out. And now I'm going to get on this side, which I haven't been before because it was covered up with this crap. But now it's clear, and I'm going to get all the stumps out of this side, and then we're going to make an effort to grade it out. And I have some grass seed I want to use before it rains, so that's my goal.
Working on one of the more stubborn stumps here. I just tried to grab it and break it off like some of the littler stumps, but it wouldn't move. So I dig on both sides. I'm trying to dig down. I'm just trying to break underground roots, trying to rip roots and soften up the ground. And it still wouldn't move. It's still tipping the machine when I grab it. So then I dug in the back of it, and it still wouldn't move. So I tracked backwards a little bit and dug in front of it, and then it started getting loose. These would have been a lot easier if they would have let them stick up above the ground a couple of feet, but they didn't. They cut them off flush with the ground. Now I'm going after a couple of smaller stumps here. These are much easier. Got them first try, both of them. So this is what I've been doing off and on for, I don't know, a couple of months probably. And we're getting close to being finished.
All right, well, I have backed up until I got to the part where we hadn't picked up, where I haven't picked up the branches yet. I got all this area plowed up, and now I need to lay it back down. I think there's a direct correlation between the ambient temperature and how much time and effort I spend pulling roots out of the dirt. Right now, the temperature is really, really high, and I don't feel like pulling any roots out the dirt. I think I'm just going to mow them over. But anyway, this isn't a bulldozer, so I have to push a little bit, move the dirt with the bucket, push a little bit, move the dirt with the bucket, and go back and forth. But after about the third time, it gets pretty flat. And then I've got Colin's tractor over there with a grader box in it. It's really good at getting stuff flat. So at least from the highway to where I'm sitting, we can finish it up. And we got just as far to go that way, but it's not nearly as wide. It's only probably half the width, so it ought to go quicker. So this is kind of like first pass. I never used a blade. I just used a bucket to try to move the material. And I moved a bunch. This edge of the road was super steep, which was fine when we weren't cutting it. But now if we cut it with the mower, I want to make this edge not so steep. So I'm moving a lot of dirt from the edge. So second pass, I basically just back dragged it up the hill and spread it out. And now I'm perpendicular to the first drag or the first tracks. And now I'm gonna go perpendicular to that. I'm gonna go long ways and do the same thing. It's kind of wet, so I don't think I'm gonna put the green machine on it yet until maybe tomorrow or the next day. It's gonna be a sticky ball in the grater box. It's not gonna work well. I'm gonna get it as flat as I can with the little track hoe. So I lied. I did get off the machine and pick up sticks multiple times. I think we're good enough shape now where the green machine will finish it off better than the orange machine, but it's a little wet, so I'm gonna leave it be. It's late, I'm tired. I'm gonna head back to the cabin and take a nice cold shower. And tomorrow, if it doesn't rain tonight, it might be dry enough to grade it out with the green machine. It's no big hurry because we still have to go a long ways that a ways. It's just nice to have little areas finished as I go. And except for just a little bitty bit of cleanup, I am finished cleaning up after Magnolia Co-op Electrical. Still got some stuff smoking over here. I didn't use the tractor with the box because there's so many vegetables left, so many sticks and roots, that it just is a pain. I just spend more time in the back picking up roots than anything. So I just I bladed it with the little track hoe, and then I walked it in. And after 3 or 4 rains, we'll come out here and check it. And if we have any holes, bad dips, I'll fix those. We're gonna have some erosion because it's got a pretty good slope, and there's no plant life on it right now, but we'll take care of that. So, whew, this has been a couple of months in the making, but I think it's done. All right, thanks for watching.